we're going to try out One Hour Roleplay today. If you look at the sheet, you can see there's one table of task roles, and they're assertive, calculated, cynical, restrained, sincere, vigilant. So when I tell you that you have a situation, I'll describe that situation, and then you can react to it. But eventually, when you make your roles, you're going to be making one of those 6 sets of roles. So, for instance, if I were to tell you you're at a bridge and there's a wagon upside down in the water, and you say, well, let's go and see if any survivors are there, or let's upright the wagon, or let's loot the wagon, all of that, you then will decide, well, that sounds like I'm making an assertive action here, or I'm making a sincere action here, or I'm just going to game the system and I want to play a vigilant action here because I know there's a troll under that bridge, obviously, that's going to come in and try to kill us. And when you finally make that decision, then you're going to roll. And you'll either have a threat, a bonus, or a prize. Now, you may have all 3. About 1 in 4 of the encounters have all 3. Most, you'll know up front whether you're facing a threat, a bonus, or a prize, but you will not know if it has the other aspects in it. And as I said, we'll go through that. But whatever you pick, for instance, I pick calculated. I'm going to make a calculated measure in this situation where I'm going to try to use ropes to pull the wagon out of the river. I'm going to, pulley it out. Then I would roll, if there was a troll under the bridge, I would roll a 7 or better to avoid the damage of the troll. I would have to roll an 11 or better, a harder roll on die 8, in order to gain any experience from that action. And then I would have to roll 9 or better to successfully get the wagon out of the river. If there's any prize involved with it, I would recover it without harm. So pretty simple system. It's not going to have any sort of elaborate combat to it. As I say in the rules that'll be published, the monsters appear and are automatically defeated. It's how much you take in damage from them from the encounter. Now, right over to the left of that task roll is a little tiny sheet that has a guy with headgear and right and left hand and right and left pocket, and it says he is in good shape of health with 8 hit points. Everyone starts with 8 hit points. It all goes down from there. And you start at level 1 with no experience. When you make your first bonus roll in an encounter that will award you experience, then you will get a bonus. And that bonus will be, well, from here on out, I want to be +1 in vigilant actions, or I want to be +1 in calculated actions. You'll make those additions to your character. All right, so let's get started with this. And let me tell you the mission. And again, I'm just looking at the mission right now. Later on, you can look on the video and see what I was doing. You are approached by a barbarian, Jal, a person that seems familiar to you from past dealings, but your recollections of this setting are vague. Your patron certainly knows you. Barbarian Jal has a task. He wants you to go to the crossroads and retrieve Vasago's object mistaken for stone. Now, you probably hope that that's a MacGuffin. It may turn out to be actually something very valuable. What you want it to be is just a plot point. That's the best thing for you. If it's something more than a plot point, like that object mistaken for stone actually turns into a stone golem or some sort of stone giant, that would be bad for you. Now, you may find help at the monastery. We're playing in a fantasy genre if you haven't caught on yet. You may find help at the monastery if you can find where that is. It should be on the way. And when you ask where the crossroads is, Barbarian Jal offers little. He just mutters annoyed at your accursed memory. So this guy knows you, but you seem to only vaguely remember him as you've been traveling in these different genres. You start at a roadhouse. Now, you will receive a reward at the very end from your patron if you successfully get to the crossroads and find the object that is mistaken for stone. Now, your patron has no serious connections to the object, sentimental or otherwise, nor does the rival. So that's a good thing for us. And your patron normally calls the crossroads his home, so that means your end game in the climax will probably be a little bit easier. And the rival has a strong connection to the market town. If you can, you want to avoid either questioning others there or delaying there. And if you ever have any questions on any of that I just listed, I can review that anytime back with you. The object of your search has an origin and a strong connection to the Eerie Caves. If you go to the Eerie Caves, you can inquire within to find out more information on this object, Vasago's object that's mistaken for stone. And we move on to the first event here. And I just read it out to you. And it's a character development. So you know right away that you are going to try to make a roll versus bonus. No matter what happens, you know bonus is going to be involved with this. Now, bonus allows you to tick up your XPs, and you'll get experience from the encounter. You enter the Roadhouse Tavern, rest and drink. Have a warm meal without an effort nor peril. It's funny that I start with just a cliche trope here in fantasy that you're starting a tavern, but it was utterly random. Religious groups, charities run the best hostels as a place for pilgrims and assembly points for local celebration. Pray at the chapel. There is always drink for those that pray, as a song or trying to greet others who don't. Now, everyone has to make a roll of 2 dice. First rolls of the game. Got to get it out of your way. You would like to get an 8 or better, and I'm looking for majority rules. So, did you successfully notice that somebody spiked and swapped your glasses of ale or not? So your patron who's with you, he successfully noticed. Now roll for all of you down the board. 2 dice for an 8. Don't worry about your assertive, calculated, cynical yet. So if you roll me 2 dice, John did not notice. Rusty, I think, roll 1 die 8. Greg noticed.
I rolled them 2 or 4.
2, and so we have 2 people up and 2 people down. All right, 2 people up and 2 people down. Now, the 2 people that are down are out of the encounter for the moment, and their fate is going to be decided by the other 2 that are up. And select one of the 6 tack now, you 2 that are up, to learn from this fantasy bonus. In essence, you know you're rolling for this bonus. So if you picked, for instance, a cynical tack or a restrained tack, you only needed to roll 2 dice for a 7. The problem would be is if there's something other to this encounter. If there's something hidden as a threat, then if you took a cynical tack, you would need to roll a second roll looking for 9 or better, or you're going to take a point of damage. Or if there was a prize associated with this encounter, then you would, well, the people spiking your drinks, you would have to roll an 11 on cynical to gain any prize from it. Now, the situation itself requires vigilant action. This is just what the module is telling me. If you pick something other than vigilant action, Greg and Conrad, then you will subtract 2 from your dice rolls. So weight that into it. So I'm going to start with Conrad. Conrad, so you know your friends have had their drinks spiked right after you got a mission to recover this object. Would you take an assertive action, a calculated action, a cynical action, etc., and describe a little bit to me what that would represent in this situation?
So do I know that they've been poisoned?
Yes.
Or do I? Okay.
Well, knocked unconscious, not poisoned.
Well, my first thought was that, well, Rusty falls asleep a lot.
He does. And so that you may be dismissive of that, yes.
Yeah. So I would have guessed, I would have said cynical, but if the task requires vigilance, then I would.
The task, the task requires vigilance, but if you decided to do one of the other actions, you're -2 in your dice.
Yeah. So let me be vigilant. I would draw my dagger and look around me for anybody that might.
Okay, so we got 1 vigilant. And Greg, how would you handle this situation?
Yeah, I think in all ways, vigilant sounds the way to go. It's what I'd be in the situation if some of my friends just keeled over. So I'm also going to take a look around and see if I notice anybody who might have been responsible for spiking the drinks.
Got it. All right, let's make the first roll. So you both took vigilant. Roll me 2 dice, a 9 or better. If you make that 9, you've got an experience point, which becomes a pip on one of the 6 actions.
10.
10. 10 and a 6. So in that case, Conrad, you are now +1 in one of the 6 tact. Do you want to be +1 assertive or +1 cynical or +1 vigilant? Your choice on where you're going to add that +2, and it's a permanent plus.
I would choose it as vigilant.
Okay, so you're now +1, and whenever you take a vigilant action, you're +1 to your dice. Just mark that on your character sheet somewhere on the side. Greg, you missed your roll, so there's no disadvantage of that. But at the same time, of consequence, as you're gaining rapport, the trust of the locals here, there is a threat that comes to attack you. So you both need to avoid that threat, rolling 2 dice. And your roll is a 7. So 7 on 2 dice.
No, oh boy.
Oh no. Both of us missed.
I think both of you missed means you have to roll you'll have to roll one more time on the same thing, or you're going to take a penalty. Right now, you're just down 1 hit point, so you both are at 7 out of 8 hit points. Now roll one more time, looking for the same number, a 7, and you want to make this one. And Conrad, you get to choose. Do you want a pain penalty, which means that you will ignore your chances of going up for experience? Do you want a daze penalty, which means you ignore your chances of gaining prizes until this recovers? Or do you want a stun penalty, which is about the worst, where you will not be able to avoid threats ever? Or the last one is, do you wish to be upset and you're -1 on all your rolls?
I'll take dazed.
Days. So no prizes for you for the rest of the adventure. All right. Now, the 2 people that were down, they need to make a roll, but they're going to be -2 to the dice because they were knocked out by the action. So John and Rusty, roll me a 7 -2. You need a 9 on 2 dice, or you took a point of damage. Could be a short game for us.
Man, the dice are...
Yeah, Rusty's in.
I got a 9.
And John is successful. Rusty is not. Now, Rusty, you took a point of damage, and you too need to roll that 9 again, or you're like Conrad, and you're going to be either dazed, stunned, or 10. So you do not have pain, you do not have daze, you do not have stun, you're not upset. All right. Now, the patron, by the way, he did well. Now you can continue your adventures after this. You have beaten up the ruffians that tried to rob from you. Somebody was just either, at this point, you don't know whether they were trying to drug you because of the mission, or just trying to drug you because they thought you were a bunch of stooges that they could take your purses from. But after this, you can travel west into the unknown. You're looking for the crossroads. Or you can travel northeast from the position you're at, or you can travel south. Now, I just have a little grid with 12 sites on it. And even I, looking at the grid right now, it says unknown, unknown, unknown. I could turn that off, but why would I? Do you wish to go northeast, northwest, or south from this position? And I'll let Rusty, we'll start with you. You can make the decision for the group.
South.
South. Going south. All right.
Warmer weather.
All right. We'll go south then. Here we go with our next event. And it's south.
It's always a mistake to let me make the decision.
Yes, I think that'll be the end of the party right here. Now, remember how I said the rival to this mission has almost a fortress in the market town? Well, that's where you headed then, Rusty. You went into the market town.
Okay.
And entering the market town, when a land grows rich in food and trade, the willful and the criminal need a place to overlap. This is the home of an opportunist. Labor is shunned, hard work left to the peasants. Here you have a middleman, moneylenders, and charlatans, the worst being the clown that calls himself the emir, a potentate draped in 100 different labels and colored velvet robes. You unfortunately need an audience. So you need to get an audience in order to meet with the market town executive. Now, emir. Now, you know that this guy is going to be a ally of your rival, someone who opposes you finding the stone, or I should say finding the object that everyone thinks is made of stone. So how would you actually do that? Well, we're going to go back to our dice again. So you're going to seek an audience with the emir, and each of you are going to roll 2 dice looking for an 8. So I'll start with Rusty. Rusty, what do you do to reach an audience with the emir? It's not based on tact. It's just your role play. And then you're going to roll an 8 to see if you're successful.
It always helps for the guard keepers to be a little bit bribed. So I'm going to offer some sweet rolls.
Perfect. Give me 2 dice for an 8.
They didn't like the sweet rolls. They must have been stale.
Sweet rolls, they're not of the type of the sweet rolls. I go over to Conrad. Conrad, John, I got you put in right between Conrad and Greg Squires.
Okay.
So Conrad, how do you get to the emir?
I perceive myself as a user of magic, so I'm going to mentally try to dominate them.
Terrific. Give me a roll of an 8.
Okay. And that's a 9.
Okay, so you are passed. And Greg, I should say John.
Well,
get-
so yeah, I'm going to tell the guards. It's like I haven't seen my buddy Amir in such a long time, and he said when I come by to tell him the exploits of my adventures, and so he would want to see me immediately.
Perfect. Give me a roll of an 8.
11.
And 11. You're in. And Greg.
I'm gonna bluff my way by waylaying somebody who does have a appointment, like a rich merchant or something. Club him over the head, take his turban and robes, and then head in and try to pass myself off as him.
Okay, give me 2. You're going to be an imposter of some sort. Give me 2 dice for an 8.
No, did not go well.
Maybe it was the blood.
Well, there's a lot about you that doesn't match the Amir. Okay, so now the 2 that I got in, I think I got Conrad and Rusty and who was it that got in? Did you get in or did you miss?
No, Conrad.
It was Conrad and John again. Now,
Yes.
you guys,
holding up the party.
the Dennison residents, the members of the court here, they're acting pushy, inquisitive, but they're have this obnoxious indifference to giving any sort of answers to your own question. All seem displeased that you would even question them in any way. So the action actually calls for you to make a restrained action when dealing with them. But what tack did you want to take? We'll start again with Conrad. Conrad, what tack did you want to take to try to convince these members of the court to give you information on where the crossroads is and where is this anything they can tell you about this object that seems to be made of stone, but it's not?
Vigilant, of course.
Well, if you take vigilant, you're going to be -1 to your dice because it is other than a restrained action. You think there's going to be harm coming your way from this, and you might.
It's better than restrained anyway with an 11. So
Now, the overall theme of this encounter is one of prize, if that changes your decision. So there's a prize involved. So if you take vigilant, you're going to have to roll an 11 or better.
I can't win a prize, so it doesn't matter to me, Ray.
Very good then, yeah. So vigilant for you. And what sort of vigilant action do you take in the court?
Just hold my tongue carefully, right?
Terrific, yeah. Yeah, short and sweet. And John, what sort of action do you take in the court? You have to pick one of the 6 tact. It's recommended that you take restrained action, but you can do any of them.
I am not terribly restrained, and I'm more assertive. I need to tell the exploits to the Amir, my friend. I haven't seen him in forever, and so
that has a better chance on prizes anyway. So you will be -1 to your dice roll. So let's go ahead and see which dice rolls we'll need to enact here. And I hit my dice. And okay, so we'll start with John. John, you took an assertive action. The only thing, you'll need to make 2 rolls. You'll need to make a prize roll to see if you come up with a prize, and you'll need to make a bonus roll to see if you get experience from this action. So let's start with the prize roll. -1 because it was not the preferred restrained required by the action. You'll need an 8.
8 or better.
8 or better, correct.
Got it.
Okay,
11.
so John has collected a prize, and your bonus, John, you'll need a 12 or better to get an experience point.
Yeah, that's going to be a little challenging, but we'll see. Nope.
Okay, so you didn't get the experience point, but you did get a prize. Now, John, you noticed a set of magical spy glasses, and you decide, well, one of those in your pocket, or someone might have come up to you and given you this, saying this scry stone will be perfect for you to find the true nature of the object that everyone thinks is stone, but not. So put that in your pocket and tell me now, which plus does that give you? Does that give you a plus in assertive actions, calculated actions, cynical actions, restrained, sincere, and vigilant? And it will only last while you're in a fantasy genre, in case you go to cyberpunk next. But
I think it's going to give me help in vigilant actions.
Sounds good. +1 in vigilant because of the prize. I go over to Conrad. Conrad, you took vigilant actions. Let's see if you first get the prize. You'll need a 12, but you're +1 in the ability already, correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead and roll your
1
12.
-1, right? So I'm 11.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't win the prize anyway, but I failed.
That is true, yes. But the roll could be for your recovery from your dazed ability as well. Forgive me, I should have said that in advance. And give me 2 dice now for a 10 on whether you pick up an experience point from this.
10 less 1.
It's actually a 9. 9 less 1 plus 1. I think you're going to need a 9 overall. Go
9
ahead.
It is. And that's a fail.
It's
That's
fail.
a rusty roll.
So
Yes.
you did.
Dice have been like that this evening.
Sometimes the dice are high, sometimes the dice are low. So you did not get anything but from your vigilant action, but John comes out with the scry glass that's going to help the party. And from here, we go from the market town, and we can either go east back to the roadhouse, that wouldn't be very good, or we can go north into the unknown, or we can go southwest into points unknown. And right now you have no clear idea of which direction you want to go. You're still wandering in this land that seems familiar to you from the last time you were here, but everything is a bit, cliche amnesia to you. We go from Rusty over to Conrad. Conrad, did you wish to go southwest into the unknown, or north into the unknown, or east into back through the roadhouse and beyond? Did Rusty pick the right direction overall?
Rusty picked south, so let me go southwest.
Okay.
So you can blame me.
Into the unknown.
It's always a good thing to try.
Always good to have a scapegoat.
And here comes our next event. And our next event, we ran into a threat. Something is in the way. There is a mythic minotaur that we're going to face here. And we end up at a strange glade. And at the strange glade, we have met a mythic minotaur. Now, we know there's a threat in front of us. Whether or not you can get additional experience from it, or whether or not you can get additional prizes from it, is unknown at this point. Entering the strange glade, a normally verdant forest opens ever so slightly to the afternoon straw yellow sun, allowing grasses and small shrubs of pink flowers to flourish. In the branches of these live the tiny folk, magical, mysterious, and moody. You are likely, if I can get my thing here, eek. You are likely exhausted from the traverse in the inhospitable terrain, covered in sores and cuts from the lashing saplings and insect bites. All those vanish when you reach this small nirvana. The inhabitants like tender, unblemished meat. Perhaps convince them to forego dining and answer your queries. A ripe smell may guide that decision. So do not hold back the release for civility's sake. You're in this sort of glade, and the champion of the Fae steps forward, and he's this mythic minotaur. So how do you handle this threat? Let's start with the obvious roll of temptations from the fairy folk. Roll me 2 dice, everyone, looking for an 8 to see if you avoid the temptations of the fairy folk, or if you're not a part of this encounter in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
Greg is indulging in the temptations of the fairy folk. Rusty's in. Conrad is indulging in the temptations of the fairy folk. And John, I'm sorry, is indulging
yeah.
Sir Conundrum, give me 2 dice, please. Do you initial 6? I can't.
We're having a very nice time.
Sorry, that was my 6.
You're 6.
Yeah.
Rusty, it's all up to you to fight the Minotaur. I've seen better. It's up to Rusty. Rusty,
That shouldn't be a problem, right?
That'll be fine.
If you pick anything other than vigilant, you're -2 to the dice. But I think vigilant action here would be probably either that or a calculated action. How do you defeat the Minotaur, Rusty?
Basically, I point to one of his.
Lead him away. Lead him away.
I point to one of his lesser creatures and say, "That guy, I think you want to. I think he's going to be a spy for the people in the Vizier, and I'm here to inform you of that. I'm going to try to do more of a calculated, but I'll do vigilant."
Yeah, vigilance is probably the best because you're a -2 in the dice. If you don't pick vigilant, you're -2 in the dice automatically versus the Minotaur, and there are no glory pips in this game. So Rusty, give me a roll of let me see what the action here is gonna result in, and Oh, okay. It is going to have a threat, a bonus, and a prize for you, Rusty. So let's start with the threat. It normally is a 7 on a vigilant action, but you're -2 versus the Minotaur. I need a 9 on 2 dice, so you're going to take damage, sir.
How about that? I got a 10.
All right. Rusty is successfully safe. Now, the rest of you need to roll this, but you do not get to pick, in essence, the vigilant action. So you're -2 and -2 again. You'll need an 11. Everyone roll an 11 or take a hit point of damage.
Everyone.
14.
10.
And a 10.
So take your hit point of damage, and the 2 people that missed, roll one more time. 2 dice, looking for an 11.
16.
Wow, good roll, Greg.
Nice.
They're pretty when they come up double A's.
Oh, and I missed.
Now, John, you have a choice. You can either take your daze, means you can't get a prize until you successfully win one, and then you won't get it. Or you can take stunned, which means you will not be able to defeat the threat until you successfully roll the result again. Or you could take a pain, which means that you cannot gain experience for the rest of this adventure. Or you can take upset, and you're -1 on all your rolls until you make a roll.
Until I make a roll?
Correct.
I'm just going to be
all
upset.
of these are until you make a roll. Go ahead.
I'm upset.
Okay, John is -1 on all his rolls, so like I said. Now we go back to Rusty. Now, Rusty, you can roll to get a bonus. It's -1. It's only -2 versus the threat against the Minotaur. So give me 2 dice for a 9 to get an experience point.
It is Rusty rolling, right?
Well,
Yes.
we didn't mock, and look at that. Rusty, you are now +1 in something. Are you +1 in assertive, calculated, cynical, restrained, sincere, or vigilant?
Calculated.
Calculated, certainly. Okay, you're +1 now for the rest of the game and calculated. And let's see if you can get that prize. Now, vigilant prize is going to be an 11, unfortunately. 2 dice for 11. There, and you get the winged helm.
No, I didn't get it because I rolled an 8.
Now, everyone else can roll -2, which on Rusty's roll is going to be a 13 to pick up the winged helm. So Conrad on a 13, and it would you won't get the helm, but you'll eliminate your dazed. John on a 13, -1 is a 14. If you make that 14, you're no longer upset, and you get a winged helm. And Greg on a 13 for a winged helm. Any winged helmed among us?
Oh,
No.
almost.
No winged
Almost.
helm among us. Well, it happens that way. Now, we defeated the mythic Minotaur in the Strange Glade, and it says you can adventure by traveling east by northeast into the unknown, or you could travel south further if you wish. So do you want to go east by northeast or south? You guys are sort of going south. I think I got a directionally challenged map here, so south must be at the... Well, go ahead. South or east by northeast. Both go into the unknown areas of 4 and 11 on my little map. I'm sorry, John. John, would you decide for the group? Would you like to move?
Let's go south.
Oh, everyone loves to go south. We're going to run out of map here in a bit.
As Bugs Bunny once said, why did they put the South so far south?
Eventually you go south far enough, and all you can do is but go north. All right, so a
Prophet Rusty
choice,
has
I guess, in a
spoken,
way
and
of
south
a
is the
luck. John, we got a potential prize here from the area that we're entering. Let me see. Oh, even better, you wandered into the climax of the mission. You found the crossroads.
Of course we did.
If I can get this map to. So you found the monastery, which is a precursor to getting to the climax and the crossroads. You were told entering the monastery, a place for both men and women, but not both at the same time. The aged and the infirmed are tended, people soon to die are housed, served by those seeking redemption for wrongs. Whether cloistered or in a state of rapture, these places are fortresses, warded by spells. Knocking will not gain entrance. You must have a need. So how do you gain entrance into the monastery? And it's going to be 2 dice roll. So Rusty, how do you gain entrance into the monastery?
I have great news from the vizier.
2 dice. He's the all-powerful messenger. Rusty's in the monastery.
You
Conrad.
are crushing it.
Yeah.
I'm bleeding.
2 in a row.
Darn it, Conrad. That was
Conrad, how do you
fantastic.
get into the monastery?
I'm bleeding.
You're bleeding. That's true. You're injured.
That's right. I'm injured.
Two dice for an 8.
11.
And they say, yes, those who are bleeding, come in. And John, how do you get into the monastery?
So I explained that we have news of attackers who want to defeat their religion and are going to come and invade them in the next few days.
Dreadful tidings. You guys are bringing all the woe. 2 dice for an 8, John.
Okay. But -1 to my roll, right?
What? Correct, because you're upset. Thank you for remembering that.
Okay. And I missed again.
You missed again. And we go over to Greg. Greg, how do you gain entrance to the monastery? John is going to stay with the horses outside.
I was also going to go with the bleeding tact, but instead, I'm going to try to sneak over the walls then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go by stealth. 10.
10. Yeah, you should have thrown a rope for John. And so we're going to go on to the fact that now once you get inside, the Dennison residents appear conciliatory and mollifying, ready to comply. It could be a healthy fear of your authority aspect, or you sense that they are hiding some sort of shame or wrongdoing. The situation calls for assertive action. Any other tact is going to be -2. So we'll start again with Rusty. Rusty, assertive or -2? We know that this action is a potential prize leading into the climax, according to the rumors. So prize is the one that it definitely is. It may also be a threat if they ambush you. It may also be a bonus if they decide if you can gain some sort of character development from this encounter. So which one do you choose, Rusty?
I'll take assertive. I'll be assertive.
Assertive. Anything else would be -2. And we go over to Conrad.
I assertively insist that they attend to my wound.
Okay. And Greg.
I'm acting like I've been here all along. So yeah, I just I go assertive as well.
Now this roll will also be for the healing, and John will be included in this. We're going to give you, since the monastery is a place of healing, and it was also mentioned in the mission generation as a place of sanctuary for your team, associated with the patron. We can make successful rolls here also be heals. So I'm going to go over to Rusty. Rusty, you took assertive action. Let's see if that was the correct action to take. Now, there is a threat. They decide that they're going to ambush you anyway for impersonating the authority. And they decide as well that this could be character building for you, and there could be an assigned of a prize. So all 3. So you all took assertive action. We'll start with Rusty. Rusty, roll me 2 dice. You're looking for a 7 to gain the prize.
All right. I got the prize.
Okay, you got the prize. So you're going to gain let's say you'll get a sword. And what is that sword going to give you? +1 in assertive, calculated, cynical, restrained, sincere, or vigilant?
It's going to give me an assertive sword.
Assertive sword, terrific. Now your +1, whenever you pull that dagger or that short sword out, it'll enhance your assertive nature. Now, roll for your bonus. Now your bonus is going to be an 11 on 2 dice.
Oh, almost.
But you're +1 in assertive.
Oh, but I'm +1 in assertive. Good thing I picked that.
Yes, so you now get a bonus, which means it'll be your second XP, and the first 2 XPs actually turn directly into bonuses. Which do you get a +1 in? Assertive, calculated, cynical, etc. For your experience.
I would say vigilant.
Do you want an extra point in vigilant, or did you want to double up your calculated, so you're +2 in calculated?
That is a good point. Okay, I'll be calculated.
Okay, so you're +1 with assertive because of the sword, +2 in calculated because of the 2 experience bump. And finally, you need to beat the enemy that's approaching you. And what is that enemy like? Was it just guards of the tower? Did they release a monster? What happened, Rusty? What was the monster, or what was the threat that came secretly from
monastery? They brought us some kung fu monks.
Of course, they have the perfect Gygax style D&D. The monks, all of a sudden, these guys can quivering palm. Give me 2 dice. You're looking for a 9, +1 because of the sword.
Assertive. I have so I'm looking for an 8.
Yes, correct. +1 for the sword.
And of course, I rolled a 4. Monks
All right.
me.
Take a point of hit points. So no healing for you, sir. And would you please roll that 9? For you, it's an 8. One more time, or you're going to take a dazed, a pain, etc.
That's the shit. Okay,
an 11. No days.
He wasn't a very experienced monk. So
yeah, no stun, no pain, no anything. But you do take a point of hit points. I think that puts you like at 6. And I'm going to go over to Conrad. Now, Conrad, you took assertive actions as well. Please roll me 2 dice for a 7 to pick up a prize.
From the death monks of the monastery, 9 is a prize. I don't have a prize, but I'm no longer dazed.
Correct, absolutely. And roll me 2 dice for an 11 to pick up an experience point.
11 for an experience point. And that is an 11.
11, so you may pick a +1 in any of the 6 tacks.
I am currently +1 as vigilant. I'm going to make that a +2.
That would probably be good. And I'm going to go over to Greg. Greg, I should say, and let me roll the threat against you, Conrad. 2 dice looking for a 9.
9 it is.
Assertive threat.
And I rolled the 7. That's a miss. So I took a point of damage.
And you don't get the healing. And roll one more time looking for a 9, or you're going to be stunned, dazed, or.
And I'll then be I'm going to just be upset this time.
Okay, upset -1. And we go over to Greg. Greg, would you please roll 7 or better for a prize?
Okay, there's a 12.
A 12. What is the prize that you picked up from the monastery?
Let's see. A shadowy cloak that will enhance my calculated action. Oh, actually, how good are we at calculated?
Well, we already have a +1 from +2 for us. If you're trying to spread the party, we probably need a sincere or a cynical or whatever.
Yeah, I want a cynical then. I'm going to shadowy cloak that enhances my cynical actions.
Now, what does that tell us about our group? That you could be a cloak, the cloak that make you friendly to other people and enhance your sincere, or a cloak that will make you more sarcastic and cynical about life. Yes, you now have a cursed cloak that gives you +1 in cynical. Good for you, Greg. Can you please now roll me 2 dice for an 11 for your bonus?
So, okay, 2 dice for 11. Here we go. Boom, 11. Yes.
Now that gives you an experience point and gives you +1 in any of the 6 tact.
We might as well go. I'll just get a natural +1 cynical also.
Terrific.
So
yeah, double it up. Absolutely. And the final roll is the 9 of assertive actions versus the threat. And I'm going to make your healing. If you beat this monster, it'll be John's healing as well. So it's you 2 for 1 here if you roll that 9.
Come on.
Okay. Yes, 9 would be good. Let's see. 9. Sorry, I was writing down my cynical cloak.
Don't wear your cloak. It's made of your skin.
There it goes. No.
Take the cloak off. Take your shoes of hatefulness off.
It's the cloak of Eeyore.
All right. No. Yes.
No.
So we went to the monastery, which should have been a place of healing, and instead the monks try to beat you up. But for the most part, you either took your drubbing or went on. Shall we perhaps move on to the climax in some way here? All right, and see if we can get to the climax. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and hit right to the end game, and we'll see what the action is here. Now I
am continually yelling over the wall, going, "Hey, I'm still out here.
I'm still out here. I'm still bleeding. The horses are not licking the wounds and making it better."
Brownie and Blackie are not happy. They're not.
This place marks the end game, the climax of the fantasy adventure. Merchant.
See if you can swap my horse for one that looks better.
You're going to steal horses from the priests, the monastery monks. All right.
You'll borrow for a long time.
Merchant Prince Pi, your rival, seems aware of every event that has occurred. You're in his domain, Whelpling. Now, your rival of mouse-colored hair, of juxtaposed contrast to the crossroads, grimaces with slits for eyes, wondering how your flesh might be cooked. All right, and you were told by barbarian Jal to reach the crossroads and steal Vasago's object mistaken for stone. The current owner is defiant and ready for fight. And the object is a MacGuffin. It has no extra powers, but it is an object that isn't made of stone, and who knows what it's actually made of. So here is the ultimate challenge now. I have told you several times in the game to take either assertive actions or calculated actions or vigilant actions, and those will tend to set a tone for the overall adventure so that in the climax, you want to pick the correct one. All right? Now, I have a little button on my display here that actually gives me a summary, and I will, since you probably weren't taking the notes, I will tell you that you had one assertive tack, one calculated tack, one cynical tack, one restrained tack, and one vigilant tack, and I should say, and two vigilant tacks in this campaign, this adventure. There were also some secretly added bonuses or penalties at the start of the mission. But if you were to take a final tact at the crossroad, would that final tact be vigilant, which is sort of the theme of the day, but no more so really than the other themes, which were, rehashing them once more, if I can get down to that little thing, assertive or restrained. So is the final battle going to involve you being restrained against this merchant prince Emir, or are you supposed to be assertive and tell him to give you the object, or are you supposed to be vigilant and see what comes next from his adversaries, from his guards? Rusty, which one do you think you should take?
I should take calculated, but that's not one of the
Yes,
three.
you can. Yes, you can. Now, the problem with that is calculated could be a -3 penalty or could result in an automatic loss. There's one tact that is definitely the worst to take, and there's one tact that's definitely the best to take.
Oh, well, sincerity is always the worst thing to take. And
right now, sincerity has not shown up in this adventure, so probably not. So do you want to take calculated where you know you got a +2, or do you want to go with the odds and take vigilant, even though you don't have any bonuses there? They both are a 7 versus the threat.
I'm definitely going to use calculated. But
okay, so you're going to take calculated, Rusty?
And if it causes me to fail, well.
And Conrad.
Conrad can pillage my body.
I'm vigilant +2, so I obviously would take vigilant.
Vigilant +2. And John?
I am vigilant +1, so I will.
Vigilant sounds like a consensus. And Greg?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not +1 in vigilance, but I'm still going to take vigilant because I think that's what the situation calls for.
All right. So, with a mumble of lament and a boisterous call of triumph catchphrase, the climax concludes. Actions of the blade speak louder than your arcane words. Better not stay in one place too long. Better to outdistance the dangers. As the fantasy warriors that you are, something is always watching through a scry glass. And you have picked, I go you have picked the best tactic of vigilant. Cynical was the worst. Your tactic was perfect. The rolls you need to make in this climax are really small. Now, Rusty, your tack was going to be -1 to the dice. But still, to defeat this threat is a mere 4 on 2 dice. Just a 4. And you get to add any bonuses you have for either calculated or vigilant. So, Rusty, roll me the threat to see if you take any damage at the end here.
9.
No damage for Rusty. And Conrad, roll me the threat here.
I am +2, but -1 because I'm currently upset.
Sounds
so
good.
I need a 3.
And you made a roll, so you're no longer upset. And John.
And I am a +1, but a -1 because I am also upset.
2 dice. And you'll
And
heal
a
your upset.
7.
And you did. And Greg, anything but snakes from you, right?
All right. An 11.
An 11. Everyone has made their threat. Now there are the prizes and the bonuses and the threats here also determine by majority of dice rolls made whether or not you have successfully completed the climax, even though it says you took the perfect tactic. So you are successful on your threats. So now we're going to go to your bonuses. These will not award experience points in the end game, but they will determine whether or not you are successful on your mission. Everyone roll a 5 or better on their 2 dice and add whatever you have for vigilant or calculated. And Rusty, yours was a -1 +1. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah, -1 +2.
So you need to roll a 5 +1 on the dice. You need a 4 on 2 dice.
Okay. I rolled double fours.
You rolled a couple
Okay.
of fours.
That's one roll of bonus, and Conrad, you need a 5 plus whatever
Plus
vigilant.
2 or plus 2, so I need a
Go ahead.
3. 5 is
Is
successful.
enough. And John, you'll need a
Okay.
5 plus 1.
And
I
I'm
think
a
for your
plus
vigilant.
1. Yep. And I missed.
And Greg. It doesn't have to
Greg
be
is the
perfect.
group
It has to be a
down.
majority.
I probably.
Greg
I
needs
thought
to
I
make
could
his
just-
roll. Greg, you
Greg,
need
make
a
the
5.
roll.
A
You
six.
can do it.
There
Yes.
we go.
Squeeze it out. There we
Greg,
go.
Greg got the roll. So you successfully made your rolls for the bonus. You've successfully made your rolls for the threat. Now we go to the rolls for the prize. Everyone is looking to roll 7s, whatever modifiers you have. Rusty, you need a 6 on 2 dice.
7.
And Rusty is successful. Conrad, you need
4.
a 4. Go ahead.
8 is successful.
And John, you'll need a 6 on 2 dice with your bonus.
And I missed again.
Okay. And
John.
John, you're very good at tending the horses. I think you can stay in that occupation.
I'm still here.
I'm still here. And Greg.
Slightly low rolling.
2 dice.
You
And-
drunken
A
sod.
10.
And Greg. So we still got the majority. So we got the majority of the prizes, the majority of the bonuses, the majority of the thing. We're going to make final rolls. Final rolls for the goal are mere 3s. Anything but deuces. I need to have unanimous, though. No deuces. Give me 4 rolls of no deuces in order to complete this objective.
Should somebody give like John like a magic sword or something like that to help? With...
Pass him the
I'm
magic
lending him my
blade.
Hey,
sword.
I
Hey,
rolled
hey,
a
hey, why don't you-
from him.
Why don't you give him that cloak of sarcasm? You seem to be using it too much. All right.
I'll never do it. I'll
There's the
never
9.
do it.
That is sort of an overview of what I'm, and as I said, when I edit this together, you'll be able to see what I was doing in the foreground here. You'll be able to see that my map was, every time you said you wanted to go south, the map was pushing you north. I think I'm directionally challenged. You need to look at my code, but yeah, we're going to restart Dungeon Puzzle in just a bit, but that's the ending of our recording of the day.